My name is Jasmine, and I am a recovering drug addict.
My name is Richie Farrell, AKA the Old White Junkie.
And we are your hosts for Exit Team Nashua.
Our mission is to bring recovery into the living room.
Last year, over 72,000 Americans died of an accidental overdose.
That's almost 200 Americans every single day.
We will bring you guests with real-life experiences with addiction and recovery. Welcome to Exit Team Nashua. Hi, welcome to Exit Team Nashua. My name is Jasmine, and I am your host. As you just saw, Exit Team is a show that takes people with real-life experiences with the suffering of either addiction, trauma, any kind of suffering that there may be, and we bring it right into your living room because they have real-life experience with recovery, whether it is a person who has recovered from a hopeless state, a loved one that has recovered, or if they are a person that offers resources. So our mission statement here is just to inspire people and offer hope. And I don't know if anyone has noticed, but Bobby has changed a little.
I'm now female. I go by Kat.
And so Kat is our co-host for the show today. Kat is not Bobby. Let me just make that very clear. Bobby is missed again this week. We love you, Bobby. We miss you. We can't wait for you to return back to the show. But we have the beautiful Miss Kat. Her hair is on fleek. She looks great. She looks great. Yes. So Kat. Kat's been on the show 5 times already, but for anyone that has not seen Kat on the show, Kat, just give the viewers a little brief rundown about how you qualify to be the host of a TV show.
Sure. So I have 3 years clean and sober, and I have a long history of trauma, PTSD, mental illness, a lot of dark stuff, and it took me about 8 years to get into recovery. And now I've finally found long-term recovery, and I've also found this fire under my soul again. Mm-hmm. So I found a way to first put down the drugs and alcohol, but then to really live and flourish and truly thrive and find myself, my purpose, who I am. I have this warrior mentality through everything. And I'm really psyched about helping people and being a voice of an advocate for recovery and
you're an advocate for bullying too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. You do a lot of work with that as well. So Kat is my best friend, so it's always an honor to. I have 2 best friends. Also, shout out to Sammy, who's also my other best friend.
Fine.
And so I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there is this gentleman with a bald head sitting right here. And you are
Maddie.
Maddie. Okay.
Yes.
Maddie, where are you from?
I'm from Boston.
I couldn't tell.
No way, no how.
Yep. Okay. How'd we get you on the show?
I ran into you someplace, somewhere, working. I forget what we were actually doing. Trying to help somebody.
Yeah.
I've struggled with the disease of addiction my whole life. I lost my mother to the disease of addiction and mental illness, and I lost myself to it for over a decade. And by the grace of God and some very great people in my life that I have today, I managed to get clean, and I managed to flourish in my own recovery, and I found it to be really rewarding to help anyone that's willing to do the same thing flourish and take their life back. And it's been helping myself stay clean for such a long time, and I began to be really good at it, and just bringing hope to an addict in dark places. And that's just what I stand for. Is I just want to help as many people as I can, stay close to my God as I can, and give back to my community in any way that I can.
So for anyone watching the show, whether if it's someone suffering, it's a loved one suffering, if they just want to inquire because they're curious and they want to know where you got your hair cut, how do they reach out to you?
They could, I'm on Facebook.
This guy is all over Facebook too. Check him
don't
out.
Don't blow my ego up.
He's all over Facebook.
I'm on Facebook, but am I allowed to give my cell phone number out?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, call my phone. If you're struggling, if you need help with anything, I have an abundance amounts of resources for pretty much anything. My number is 781-835-0398. I pick up the phone all the time. I'm addicted to picking up.
So can we tell a really funny story?
Oh God. Yeah, I guess.
Maddie called me up one time and invited me to go out to drinks because he thought it was someone else, and he wasn't drinking. He was like, I'm gonna drink Red Bull, but you could drink wine. And I was like, it's not gonna end well if I drink wine.
Yeah.
Yeah, he thought it was someone else. He thought he was on the phone with someone else, and he was like, yeah, I'll drink Red Bull, you can drink wine. And I was like,
I was working at a place.
right.
Yeah. I can't
Just
find
put
my
it
way
right on
out of
the
this
spot.
one. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
It's fun. It's funny. It's really
Hey,
funny.
listen, I've learned how to enjoy myself
That's right.
without consuming a minor mood-altering substance.
Yeah, it's
And
certainly not suggested for anyone struggling or new to recovery, but I've been given freedom today. I can go where any free man can go, and
Exactly.
temptation is not there for me. So,
Exactly.
yeah, I might go out and drink Red Bulls, but
Send it.
yeah.
We're not perfect.
No, we're not. Not even close.
So when did you first pick up? Like, what was your first substance?
For me,
For the other guy.
my believe it or not, like my first minor, like I struggle with mental health and depression, bipolar, and everything like that. So like,
I think this is so great. I'm seeing a really big movement these days about like people advocating for mental health. So I think that this is great because a lot of people who suffer from substance use disorder, SUD, also have mental health.
without a doubt, I
Yep.
feel like almost everybody that has a substance use disorder has, trauma, PTSD, a life traumatic situation that causes us to run away from us. You know, and usually stems back to mental health. For me, that's definitely the case. For me, it's a minor mood-altering substance. Anything that puts a mask and blocks me from like the value of me is a drug. So like my first drug was like psych medications through like the institutions that I was in as like a little child.
So can you just elaborate on that a little bit? Like, so you were like, were you abusing them for an effect produce, or?
I was heavily medicated, for me, I was in like a McLean's hospital or like, all kinds of these other places where I was pretty much, labeled as this, and I would be, given so many different medications that like I was really just like a shell of a person, and it was equally just as bad as getting high. Because, I couldn't focus on anything for the fact that I couldn't feel anything. So that's like where like my first mask went on. It was kind of just like a drug. But the first time I experimented with narcotics, it was when I was 15 years old. I lost my mother when I was 14. Curiosity kills the cat. Like I needed to know what was going on. I needed an escape route. I needed something to make me run away from myself and reality. So like I started with like the Percocets, and I started with like the Oxys.
And you were 15. So how were you getting them at 15 years old?
Well, like I said, like I grew up in in the city. I knew my environment. I knew where to go get what I needed to get. You know what I mean?
Like someone such as myself, I had been subjected to that lifestyle, so it wasn't like a challenge for me. But there are people who grow up very differently, So, yeah, Kat, yeah, but she still managed to find them as well.
Well, you could put an addict in the desert. If we want to get high, we're gonna find the drugs. I knew, for me, the people I hung around with had it. You know what I mean? That was attractive to me. They loved me in a way that I didn't need to get loved. They validated me in a way that I shouldn't have, and they also had the drugs that I needed. So it started off like that. I wasn't, really getting it at home. So I started gravitating to the wrong people, places, things, patterns, and behaviors in all the wrong places. And, drugs were, acceptable. That's kind of like what you needed to do. That's the cool thing that was, going on. And, like, that's what I went through. And, like, as soon as I did it, it was for me because it numbed all my pain, all my stress, all my anxiety, all my trauma, all my depression. And I didn't have to take the medications that I was on, and I was able to, like, kind of function in society in some sick way. And it progressed so quickly. Like, for me, it started with Perc 30s and weed. And now, like I'm partying, drinking, and like the perk 30s to the weed turned into the, the ecstasy to the cocaine. And then the ecstasy to the cocaine turned into the crack cocaine to the heroin. And then it happened by the time I was like 18 years old, like I was shooting heroin.
18. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I
Yeah.
look at 18-year-olds now and I'm just like, you're this little baby, let me love you. And I'm like, when I was your
Crazy.
age, I was like running the streets and in and out of jail. Like, oh my God.
I think personally too, that's such a critical period for development. So if you're having your trauma during, this time interval where we're developing like our sense of self and identity, and it becomes destructive, then the effect is almost like that much greater because we're completely confused. We don't have an identity to compare it to yet.
Oh, of course. I lost myself when my mother left me, and like I had no clue who I was, and like I had no clue who I was throughout that process. And by the time I was 18 and I started like, forget about it, like, and when I got clean, it's like you pick up where you left off. It's
Exactly.
like, when I got clean, I had no clue who I was, who I wanted to be.
Arrested development.
You know what I mean? What I was attracted to, what I wasn't attracted to, what I valued, what I didn't value. It was crazy.
Yep.
It's crazy how the brain works, and like how my growth has stopped by like using that young, and before then, absolutely insane. Yeah. But for me, it's like it's always been like I've always been running from mom my whole entire life, like trauma. It was trauma. You know what I mean? I have a loving father, but my dad, does what any other man does. He goes to work, he pays the bills, and like I was home with mom, and like mom wasn't there, so like I needed to find what wasn't there, and like
I totally relate to that. It's an absence of a safety net. So when you go home, it's like, for me, I didn't feel safe, but it's similar. It's like there was no loving comfort of like a home that I would see with other people. And so I had to find it elsewhere.
It totally
and it made you super resentful for it, right?
I don't know that it made me resentful because my strategy was that I've got this. Like, I'm going to just find life on my own. You know, my father's not going to be there. So, okay, fine. I will go find my value and my validation through men, through other things.
Of course. Anything that gives you like instant gratification in a way.
Yeah, it was not beneficial.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Never is. And it was like you said, it's like anything that like allowed me to run away from me, whether if it was drugs, like people validating, like behaviors, whatever it was, is like I was always trying to fill that spiritual modality. I was always trying to just find the love in all the wrong places, and like.
So it sounds like you were someone that suffered from just a really young age, like way before you picked up a substance.
It was way before.
So what happened? What transpired so our viewers know? Because I feel like, the three of us are from such different worlds, and
But
like we're sitting at this table and we can all connect and know. So I guarantee you that there are viewers watching and they can totally identify what happened, like what changed, because I know you today, and I know that you have your struggles and life is up and down, but you are someone that, like Kat had talked about at the beginning of the show, like her spirit is on fire and she is thriving, and that is you. Like Kat described herself, but she also described you. So what happened?
Pain happened. I eventually ran out of resources, and I eventually ran out of ways to manipulate and lie, and like I was blessed with the gift of desperation. And the people that loved me, like my father, allowed my process to be my process, and like when I was ready
That's huge. Can you repeat that?
He allowed my process to be my process.
He didn't try and force you to change to fit you a mold. He didn't, you had to go through what you had to go through.
Listen, my dad went through it with my mother, so he knew all he had to do was just love me when I needed to be loved. So.
Jasmine loves that. She loves love.
Yeah.
Love is the answer for her.
My dad's my number one supporter, always has been, always will be. When my pain got great enough, I was lucky enough that I had some people in my life that, guided me in the right direction. Like, the resources were there. And,
What were the resources for you?
There was a very special woman. She's just an advocate for people like trying to seek recovery. She's like somebody like Kat, somebody like you that just like goes out to the community and gathers stuff. She's like a coach or something like that, where she made one phone call, that phone call turned into the other phone call, that other phone call turned into the other phone call, and
She got you connected.
And God did the rest. You know what I mean? And I ended up in a treatment facility, and I went to somewhere where like I could, look my pain right in the eyes. I could learn how to process my pain. I could learn how to confront my pain. I got coping mechanisms, for it. And it spiritually built me into the person I am today. And like I have complete my life is perfect, and I wouldn't change anything that I went through. And I don't want my mother to be here. Like I have complete acceptance for like everything that has happened. And like it's so fruitful and like abundant that like recovery is responsible for it, and like the people that I have in my life are responsible for it. And my willingness to stay in recovery and like my hustle that I have in this thing is like it keeps me from like being a prison to myself and my mother and like my pain and like my depression and like my mental health. And it's like today I don't take any medications. I don't do nothing. I'm a 12-step guy. I do the 12 steps of NA. I have a sponsor, but what helps me the most is when I help somebody else. It's how I deal with everything. And it's just like crazy to think that
we're all one. We're meant to be connected. We are all one. We're all from one source, like we might have physical traits and we might like, things might be different about us, but we are all from that same power. We're all
Without
one.
a doubt.
So yeah, that's why people like who are really in tune to like being an empath, like you can feel someone's pain because it's your pain.
Yeah.
You can feel someone's joy. Like when you see something good happen, like why do you smile? Why do you feel joy? Because we're connected. We're all one. Like you can feel their happiness.
It's
you can feel their pain.
We're identifying. Yeah.
You were gonna say something, Ken?
Yeah. So I had someone actually bring this up to me the other day, and it's interesting. So from an outside perspective, from someone who is not completely inundated with recovery, toxic recovery, like people that are in recovery. I had someone tell me that they didn't realize that like this program extends far beyond just putting down a drink and a drug.
Oh my God.
And it took me, back a little bit because I remember that like my whole identity in life was this person who is in a dark place, going through dark times, just darkness. That's what I identified as, and just a very serious person who had a lot of pain and suffering. And then I went into the program, and like all of a sudden 3 years went by for me. And it's like, I forget that like that was a life I had in this body. Because sometimes it just feels like this memory or like this like thing that I can think of, but it's not. I've really separated what that was in the past and this new person. I have a new name basically, because I used to always go by Catherine, and I was so like filled with shame because of all the things that had happened to me. I felt like humiliated, and like I went through all of this shit, and so I like reinvented myself. And I feel like for me personally, the program has given me all these tools to like conquer my fears and like do the things that I wouldn't think are possible.
Without a doubt.
And not live this ordinary life, but be this like superwoman just because I can. And it's all because of recovery. Like, how would you tell someone, honestly, it almost makes me want to like just show people that like you don't have to just stop the pain, but like you can literally be anything that you want and recreate yourself and be whoever you want to be.
It's so
inside
cool.
and out.
Yeah,
through this program.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to put down the drugs and the alcohol first. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, you put down the drinks or the drug or whatever the case may be, you're still left here with yourself. Recovery's a lot more than just, stopping, the drink or the drug. You have to learn how to love yourself, and you have to learn how to implement acceptance and,
and there's no way around that.
You know what I mean?
You can't fake it.
Can't fake that. And you need to learn how to, implement unconditional love and tolerance and, all these things that we talk about, spiritual principles. And like once you do that, your self-worth and your spirit begins to, change, and your view on a lot of things like begin to change. And then, like you said, you could kind of like figure out what you're attracted to and what you want to do. And like the things an addict could do, if you free yourself from yourself and you free yourself from your drug, like if you only think about the hustle and the grind that we put into getting the next bag.
You put that into something else.
If you put that into something else, there's no
It's
telling.
crazy.
At
It's
2
crazy.
years sober, I have far exceeded any goal that I had ever set for myself. Like life goals. Like, oh, I'm gonna like do X, Y, and Z. Like, I'm 2 years sober. I'm a baby. I'm in the infancy stages, and like my goals would have ended here, and I'm like way up here, and I'm like, what's next?
And
Like,
it's
what is
not
gonna be my
even-
next goal? I don't even.
It's not even
crazy.
like career. It's like friendships. Like I have the most beautiful friendships. I'm like getting chills talking about it. That I would never have expected, because I used to hang around people who, like, honestly, sometimes were just like mean to me.
Of course.
Like, why would I be around people that were like disrespectful and rude, who didn't understand me at all? But like they had the things that I needed,
Yeah,
and
there's
so I
all kinds of
compromised.
motives.
Yeah.
And so
You
now it's
compromise
like
your
I have
worth,
like
yeah.
completely genuine, like unconditional love in relationships.
And right, and that's really what it's about, and so we reap the benefits from that spiritually, emotionally, right? But the outside gets really good with that too. Like the better you get on the inside, it's crazy. Like the more like things just come into place on the outside. Like 2.5 years ago, I was literally homeless, living outside, sleeping outside, not showering, not eating, and like I somehow like repaired my credit, and I can buy a house in like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, I
And-
just put my name on my own apartment with a lease, dude. You should have seen me calling National Grid. I'm like, I need heat and I need electric. It's like, why are you so excited? This is all new for me. But it's like,
Right. And those are outside things. But they come with working on the inside. It's so cool.
once you like, and you said about the friends and like you never knew that like all this stuff was possible. It's like once you know you and you're completely content with like who you are, that's what recovery does for you.
Yep.
You don't accept just everything around you. You accept like yourself internally, like and what you have to offer, and like you're okay with being you, not the
Yep.
false self.
Yep.
And once you do that, once you
gave me
portray
chills.
like the real you, like I'm Maddie O'Malley, I'm not hard, I'm not soft. I'm very empathetic, I love hard, you know what I mean? I'm very emotional, I'm full of fears, insecurities, and doubts. And once I put that all on the table and give it to God, He naturally sorts out the people that are supposed to be in your life and the people
Yeah.
that are not.
Well,
Because
you
if you're
give
going to
him the
accept
good
me
and
for
the
me,
bad. It's all
Yeah.
his. They're not nothing.
And you learn to like take the hard experiences as lessons, not as in like, oh, why is this happening to me? Like, are you kidding me?
I'm like going through something like really rough
Without a
right now
doubt.
in my personal life, and like I'm spending lots of time in prayer and meditation every morning, and I'm like, God, show me what I'm supposed to see. Like I know that I'm supposed to be seeing something, and like I still can't see, I'm still suffering, but like still
But
can't
you're
see
here
it.
and
Yeah.
you're going through it no matter what. Like
Right.
you're getting out of bed and you're
like
showing
I'm not in
up.
victim mentality.
Without a
I'm not
doubt,
like,
yeah.
oh, poor me, no.
Yep.
Like no, like dude, there's something that I'm not getting. Whether something inside of me needs to change, something about my circumstance needs to change. There's something that I'm not getting, and there's some kind of that I need to see. And once I see it, the change will be made.
It's like a level of acceptance
Listen.
through the pain.
Yeah.
That we're, growth through adversity. Like that was
without
my
a
first
doubt,
tattoo.
it says in the Bible, it says most of our blessings are received in the valleys. Like,
Yeah.
woo.
you know what?
Yeah. Whoa. Okay.
Big deal. Listen, it's like, as long as you don't pick up, like you said, anything good or bad, just because we're in recovery and life's supposed to be beautiful, that's not the case. But like I've learned, like I've dealt with a lot of things in like clean, but like I didn't pick up, and like I hung on long enough that like I received a lesson. All I had to do was stay out of my own way.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's
And you can see the beauty in the pain too. Example, I've cried a lot this last week, like a lot, and like I've been going through like a lot of pain because I can't see what my direction is, right? And I can't see which way I'm supposed to go. And through all of that, like women have rallied behind me and just like loved me and carried me. And so even though I'm going through something painful, like I can still see the good in it, like because I'm so loved. I'm like searching for love, and like God's like, you got it right here, kid. It's right here. You know.
yeah.
There I
It's-
am. Hey. If I If anyone's suffering or you need any resources, I am certainly available for you. That is my personal cell phone number. That is my personal email. Check us out. Look us up on Facebook. I am a heroin addict. Go ahead and like our page for us. Follow us. Whatever you need to do. Maddie's information was on the screen, and it will be on the screen again before the show ends. And Kat's information. Me. Hey, let them have it. Let them have it. Tell them about it.
What do you mean to say?
That's Kat's information. That's her personal.
Contact me. There you go.
So her email, her cell phone.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Check her out on I'm a Heroin Addict. She also puts a lot of posts on the page, and there he is. There's the man of the hour, Matty O'Malley.
I'm not the man of the hour. But yeah, if you need anything, if you're struggling, or if you ever just need somebody on the other end of the line, man, please call me. I can only help keep what I have by helping somebody else, and I really love it. Live for it. So
I know that Maddie's contact information says Simple Path Recovery, and if you are someone that is looking to go to treatment or needs to go to treatment, absolutely 100% certainly reach out to Maddie. But what I will let you know from my personal experiences with Maddie and what has been my truth and mine and Maddie's relationship is that if you need anything, call Maddie. You don't know if you want to go to treatment, you're not sure if you need to go to treatment, you don't even want to go to treatment, you just need to talk. Call him. He's genuine, he's sincere, and he'll be there. And if he can't help you, he'll guide you to resources that can. So
yeah.
So the show goes by really quickly.
Yeah, is that done? Are we done?
Yeah.
We're offline?
But was it scary?
Ticking right there.
Yeah.
But you showed up.
That's the disease in me. I'm
you showed up.
Yeah.
We are scary. We're very intimidating. It's our hair.
You're not bad. You scared me though. You always have.
I can talk in a British accent. Will that make it better?
We were going to practice our We should have practiced our Boston accents for Maddie. We were like hot, and you said something else, and I wanted you to keep asking you to say. You were like, yeah, pottied and hot, and I was like, whoa, really Boston over here.
It's really not that bad. Is it that bad?
I don't know. But so anyways, if anyone's reaching out, if you're struggling, you're suffering, you have a loved one suffering, you want a list of resources, you don't think you want help, you don't want help, you don't care about getting help, still reach out to any of us.
August 31st, if anybody's around the Merrimack Valley area. I also work with Heroin's Killing My Town. It's a nonprofit that we help guide people into treatment and help scholarship them into whatever their needs, as far as sober living, treatment, or whatever the case may be. We have Overdose Awareness Day in the Merrimack Valley in Lowell. Check it out. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful time.
Follow Maddie on Facebook. All the information will be there. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Kat.
Thank you.
Love you all.
Love y'all.
My name is Jasmine, and I am a recovering drug addict.
My name is Richie Farrell, AKA the Old White Junkie.
And we are your hosts for Exit Team Nashua.
Our mission is to bring recovery into the living room.
Last year, over 72,000 Americans died of an accidental overdose.
That's almost 200 Americans every single day.
We will bring you guests with real-life experiences with addiction and recovery. Welcome to Exit Team Nashua. Hi, welcome to Exit Team Nashua. My name is Jasmine, and I am your host. As you just saw in the intro, Exit Team is a show who takes people who have real-life experiences with addiction, trauma, any kind of suffering, and we bring them right into your living room. We bring recovery right into your living room, whatever someone may be recovering from. We do primarily focus on substance use disorder, but as we know, people suffer from just anything and everything today. And the show is about hope. There's a way out of the pain. There's a way out of the suffering, and we take people in that have been through it and that they know that there's a way out. And so if you want to know a way out and you want what that person has, like, we make them readily available to you. As you see, there is a beautiful co-host sitting across the table from me.
Hi, my name is Kat.
We got a supermodel.
Yeah, so I'm filling in for Bobby. I'm excited to have my sponsee, Clare. It has been an honor working with you, and I get to see her grow, and here she is on her first debut of the show. So yeah, I'm happy to co-host today.
Is this your first time being on TV?
Yeah, to my knowledge. Yeah.
True.
Yeah, you never know.
So it's fun. We have a lot of fun on the show. So welcome. I'm happy to have you. So when I first met you, I just instantly fell in love with your spirit.
Aww.
Yeah, I was texting. I was like, Claire is so great. I just love her. Because energy is a real thing, right? Like, energy is a real thing, and you can feel if someone's genuine and if they're kind and if they're loving, and that radiates off you.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
it was
Motivated, determined, willing.
Desperate.
Desperate, yeah. That's fine.
Yeah.
So you are a beautiful young lady. What qualifies you to be on a show that primarily focuses on alcoholism and drug addiction?
I will qualify myself by just saying that my addiction went from, doing what everybody else was doing and kind of it hijacking my brain to think, okay, this is what you need for the rest of your life.
I love that you said doing what everyone else was doing.
Yeah.
This is so great. See, don't you love these shows? Because they're so different, right? Because, like, when you were doing it, it was normal. It was what everyone else was doing, but you reacted differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I identify as an alcoholic, and...
How old were you, by the way, when you were doing what everyone else was doing?
It was in college.
Okay.
Really, that's when I really started to, experience the euphoria of it all, because I found the way that I like to drink, which was, binge drinking, which is, as you guys know, really, it's really acceptable in college, and it's, it's emphasized, and so...
Yeah, it's
a thing to do.
Part of the culture.
Part of the culture. Yeah. So
I didn't even go to college, but best believe I was on campus binge drinking.
Parties,
yeah. That's why I was there too. Trust me.
I was a frequent regular there.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, that's really what it started out with, and it was these feelings kind of washed over me, where it's very abnormal thoughts. Like, if I could do this for the rest of my life, everything will be okay. No matter what I go through, as long as I have this substance to put in my body.
While you're drunk.
While I'm drunk.
While you're drunk.
I don't have to worry about it. Yeah. So as long as I am in that state of mind under some kind of influence, then, I don't have anxiety. I don't have fear. I don't have insecurity or doubt of any kind. And it took me a long time to realize that wasn't normal thinking.
Yeah. So what happened?
A lot in a short period of time, my progression was really rapid. It really started with me damaging relationships with people, I think. And that didn't really occur to me how much damage I actually did until way after. I would really abuse people, like verbally, emotionally, tear people down, because I was, this thing was taking over me without my permission, without me knowing.
This is so great, because we focus on so many different aspects, but I think this is the first time that I've ever really going to shift the focus here to I'm such an advocate for people in recovery and to like love them and support them, but you are here on the show talking about like you were abusive to people that you love.
Yeah.
And so to be that person who's being abused by not even you, maybe there's someone else that's watching this show, like that's a really terrible place to be. And I imagine that if I was that person, like I would be full of anger, resentment, like towards you.
I think it speaks to the perception too, because that you acting out on that behavior is for a reason coming from pain.
Yes.
That there's no malice attached to it. And their perception is that they just see anger.
Right. Yeah.
And so there's like a disconnect. I think that like this disconnect of communication and interaction is really similar to like that theory that the absence of connection is addiction.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're just great. So that's awesome that like you just came out here like 3 minutes into the show. You're like, hey, like I got really drunk and like abused a lot of people like emotionally and verbally,
Yeah.
And so I'm always like such the advocate for the person because I know what it's like.
Yeah.
And like the guilt and the shame and like no one hated me
I
more
still
than
cringe.
Yeah. Right? Like, I'm sure that you hurt that person and they were upset with you, but, like, no one hated you more than you hated yourself for doing that.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm assuming, because that's what it was like for me.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And, like, there was absolutely no... I just remember having a really diminished energy from, like, hating myself so much. Like, that's all I could do was, like, abuse other people because I was so tired of abusing myself. I mean, I could psychoanalyze myself all day, but like I think at the end of the day it just really comes down to like fear and pain for everyone involved.
So were you like still in college when you like realized, oh hey, like Claire, you might have a problem?
I was in denial. Denial's a really scary thing because I don't even think I have to explain why it's so scary. You're just spiraling and spiraling and spiraling, but you can't let go of this thing that you love.
I think, when you're solving a problem, like a math problem or a reading comprehension problem, it helps to know the problem to get the solution.
Yeah.
So if you are denying that the problem is the problem, then how do you even get to the solution?
Right. And when everyone's around you, like, you have a problem, you're like the most insecure person on the planet. You're like this small, you feel lower than dirt, and then someone's telling you that you can't control something that your life depends on. It's like, you're like, how could you possibly say that this thing is saving my life? This is the thing that's keeping my head above water. And you have no idea what's going on underneath. I'm treading, I'm sinking, I'm drowning, and you can only tell me. Like, that's how it felt to me. So I felt like attacked, I felt like they didn't love me, my family, my friends, when that's all they were trying to do. Right. So you're right about the disconnect. It's just an absence.
For me, I remember, and this is just my perception, I know that my perception has been flawed many times, but I felt like, people say like they're alone and that like they didn't know anyone else could, was going through it, and like that's why they had to kind of, they just felt alone in this warfare. So what was the breach of that feeling of alone? Like who or what happened, what transpired for you to know that like, hey, there's this community that's flourishing of people who like don't have to, obey their inner urges, and how how did that happen for you?
Getting into recovery?
Yeah, like how did that even become a thought in your head? The decision of, alcohol, drugs are my solution to, maybe I'll consider this other alternative.
Yeah. I think it was when alcohol started to make the decisions for me and call the shots in my life. I was drinking against my own will, I had no power.
Which sounds completely absurd, by the way, to people.
Yep.
You're drinking, like, excuse me, how do you drink against your own will? Like, how does that happen? But, like, I can sit here and attest to what you're saying is true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know that what you're saying is true. I have drank
Right.
against my own will.
Right.
It sounds
Because
crazy.
there's a higher form of self that's saying this is not good.
Yeah.
But yet these, I call it like the primitive part of our brain is the
Yeah.
one that's carrying out on the impulses, on the habitual behavior. So you have like your intellectual brain and then you have your reptilian brain, and they're both coexisting. And if you don't know that like both coexist, then like,
I remember the first time I became aware of consciousness, and I like realized that like I was analyzing my thoughts, and I was like, wait a second, who is the I? And I was like blown away. I
Yeah.
was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Like it slowly, like my spiritual experience came very slowly for me.
Yeah.
To
beginning of
realize
self-awareness.
Yeah, to realize that there was like something greater than me going on, like outside of my brain, outside of here, some kind of consciousness, the mind, whatever people, want to call it,
Yeah,
I remember my first awareness of that. But anyways, we are way off topic. Yeah. So power of drinking against your own will.
Yes.
So absolutely crazy. We got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maddie says good and yo.
Good and you. That's that Boston thing that we were
Yeah.
talking about on the way here. Which
no.
Yeah. So drinking against my own will really led me into when you were talking about the reptilian brain and just like the loneliness, I drank myself into oblivion of like socially, emotionally. I had nothing. I had nothing on the inside. I had nothing on the outside. My family was done with me. My friends, I had none. The boyfriends that I had like held hostage had like pried away from me and blocked me, and I just was alone.
So
I was
funny.
alone.
I just see that so hard to see with Claire.
I know, which is why we do this,
Yeah.
why? Because it doesn't discriminate, I remember
But
thinking.
it shows how you evolved
Yeah.
already. You have a year, and you've already, manifested this new, you, and people see that. I think that's what she's trying to say is like the energy that you transmit today, and like you're sober, you're a year sober, and you're giving off the energy that like you're content with self, and like you have self-respect, and that like you're self-aware, and like how could you hold someone hostage?
Yeah.
And as your sponsor, I know that that's your truth.
Yeah.
But it's crazy because like that's what a year has done. Imagine what 2 years had done. Like that's
Right.
giving me chills.
I know.
It's
It's exciting. So I think really what pulled me into recovery was like a power greater than myself. My understanding of God working through people, kind of like forcing me to go into I'm a product of treatment, definitely. I had to go a few times, and that's, kind of a theme of my recovery has been, you just don't give up. You just don't give up. Like, no matter how tough the going gets, like, you can't give up on yourself because you're all you've got. Like, you're all you have. And, when you struggle with addiction, know that, like, you're way more than the disease tells you that you are, because, like, it does talk to you in your own voice. It does tell you lies. And I'm just grateful to be here today and be able to differentiate like my truth from like the disease of addiction in that voice that talks to me in my head.
Yeah. So when you you're a product of treatment, right? So how did you go from treatment to where you are now?
Okay, so
Sorry, the screen keeps flashing. So
no,
it's
that's
always
okay.
flashing.
So I went in and out of treatment for a long time.
Which brings up a really good point. Sorry, by the way.
Yeah.
Because I know. So I work in treatment.
Yeah.
And a lot of times someone will come in, and like the family will be like, they're gonna get it this time, like not, and it's just like even if they don't, like man, it's about love. It's like about showing up. Like
That's right.
you can't put expectations on whether someone's gonna get it or not. Like that's not what this is about. Like this is about connecting with them, loving them, supporting them, like whatever experience they need to have. Like
I think
it's not our job to
analogous
dictate that.
to having a child. I don't have any, but I've heard that when they're going through a rough time, or even if like you don't want them to get hurt because that they can get hurt in this world, physically, mentally, whatever have you. It's scary to know that like someone that you love could be harmed.
Yeah.
But part of that love is to not like restrict them and hold them hostage, but rather to let them experience, because they're their own, individual experiencing life, and love them through no matter what.
Right. Right.
It also brings up a good point for someone who's watching and maybe feels hopeless, like, oh, I've done this, I've been to like that treatment center, I've been to this treatment center, and like I can't get it. Like I didn't get sober to my 9th treatment center.
Yeah.
And like, what? Like I'm not sober today because of that treatment center. I'm sober today because of the work that I put in.
That's
like
right.
thank you God for that treatment center. And like I don't want to diminish that at all, but like the treatment center did not get me sober.
Right.
It didn't. It provided me tools, it provided me what I needed to do that work.
So accumulated.
So if someone's feeling like they can't get it, or they've been, I mean, like I work with kids that have been to treatment 30, 40 times, and they're feeling like they can't get it anymore. And I'm like, you're right, bro. I'm not going to save you. I'm not going to get you sober. But like, if you want to get sober, I'm going to give you some tools.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
And you know what really shifted, kind of changed like the game for me, was when I decided to go to a halfway house program. And if I remember somebody told me that like right out of college, when I pretty much, that was like the beginning of the end, if you know what I mean. And, I heard the word halfway house and I was like, I'm going to stay, I said to the person who told that to me, I'm going to stay as far away from a halfway house as I can possibly stay. And like, you better not say that word in my like presence ever again. Right. Because it was threatening to me. They're going to tell me what to do. I'm going to have a curfew. I'm going to have rules. I'm going to have chores. But when you get to the point where you're like, I don't see a light. Like it is complete darkness,
At some point a halfway house starts looking pretty good.
Yeah, a shower, food, a clean sheets, a bed, like social, like beings.
That's what that was the best thing that a halfway house provided for me, was the connection and the women, and it was like,
Amazing.
So there's a question for you.
Okay.
How has connecting with a sponsor changed your life?
Oh, I like that one. Connecting with a sponsor, and I want to give my sponsor a shout out because I've had sponsors in the past, and somebody told me, if you don't like say that my sponsor is the best sponsor, then they're not the sponsor for you. Well, my sponsor is the best sponsor. Hey. And I have to say that because she is the only one that has like I guess the mustard seed was planted, but like she has watered it, and she has like given me permission to like be myself, to have a voice, to basically do what my potential allows me to do, which is, I didn't know I had a potential. I didn't know I didn't have limitations as a human being. Like, she's shown me like what self-worth is, and she's like provided me with this lens on life that you can look through and just see hope. You can be grateful, and you don't think any of this as like lame. Like when I was, a while ago, I thought all of this was stupid. I was like, how is this going to get me sober? Like, this is just, it's all.
I don't want anything to do with your cult.
Right. And it's just patience. She showed me patience. She showed me love, unconditional love. And that's how connecting with a sponsor has changed my life. I love you too.
That brings up like a really good point, because throughout various lengths of my sobriety, people have like told me what I had to do and been like, you have to do X, Y, and Z or you're not going to stay sober. And like, the truth is like, who knows if I didn't do X, Y, and Z, if I would or wouldn't stay sober. But what I have found and what I have cultivated is like a group of women that don't tell me what to do. Like, they don't tell me, like, they'll give me a suggestion, like, that might not be a good idea, and, like, whether I take that suggestion or not, like, they're still there, they still love me, like, like, obviously, everybody in my life, like, wants me to be sober, because I'm a much better person when I'm sober, but if I were to relapse, like, they wouldn't shame me, they wouldn't shun me, they would still be there for me, because sobriety is not what they're looking for out of me.
Right.
They're looking for, like, connection, for me to be there with them.
Absolutely.
So, and that's, like, what I found in sponsorship, too. Like, I got sober in a program that like told you when you could sit and told you when to do this and when to do that. And I'm really grateful because I needed that at that time. But as I developed in my life and in my sobriety, I hit a lot of pain around that because my truth didn't align with theirs.
Right.
And I was like, ooh, like, why is life so painful? And I realized, like, you know, Jazz, like, your truth is actually way over here and you need to get there, you know? And so these women, they just encourage me to, like, keep finding that truth and, like, whatever that may be. And it's up and down. It's beautiful.
It's the same analogy with the child. Like, you let them go off into the world and, like, they will thrive not by you smothering them, but by giving them the tools of, like, hey, you're worth it. I love you. Know that if you're going through anything, like, it's going to be okay. Like, you're not alone.
And it's so healthy.
It's unconditional.
Healthy. Right. Yeah, that's healthy.
It's unconditional.
I love that you have found that. I don't, because I feel like, never mind. I'm not going to say it. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to.
Being filtered?
Well, I was going to say, I feel like sometimes in different recovery practices, because like there's 12-step recovery, there's different forms of 12-step recovery, there's 3 principles, there's refuge recovery. You know, some people like have formulated fitness plans to stay sober, and what is right and what is wrong is not for me to say. But I do know that I have found, like, in my experience, a lot of time in like certain recovery modalities, like if you don't do exactly X, Y, and Z, like you're shamed and shunned. And that's the complete opposite of what recovery is, and what one really needs who's suffering. Because what one really needs who's suffering is loving and encouragement and that genuine connection.
Right.
So So it's really cool because you have found that.
Yeah.
And that's really awesome. And some people find
and you can't have recovery. You can't have, like, the absence of drinking and drugging without all of these principles. So, like, it does look corny to some people because if they're coming from a place of darkness, like, it almost can be, like, you know, inauthentic.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They're like, when 2015, when I tried to get sober and someone told me I couldn't steal anymore, I was like, I'm not interested.
And that's really where you're at.
Yeah, I was not interested. Like, I didn't know how I was going to get makeup without stealing from Walmart. I made an amends to Walmart, so it's cool. You know, like, I didn't. And now, like, the thought of, like, stealing anything horrifies me. I'm like,
because you're back to your true self.
Yeah.
Right? You know?
Exactly.
It's funny because, and we're you know, going to bring up a topic that we're actually going to talk about tonight. But for amends, for me, like, we get to, and it's back on that the difference of perception that we were talking about. But, like, the person that I was during active alcoholism, I used to be about this quote that was like, in vino veritas, which is, in wine there is truth. So basically when you're drunk, that's like your true self.
Yes.
And that is the farthest from the truth because when I was in this darkness and I was drinking alcohol because I thought, like, I loved how I felt. It was freedom from fear, anxiety, bondage of self. But when I drank, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank spot.
in wine there's truth.
So
I was gonna say I think that quote's genius.
It is.
Oh wait, no. Okay.
she's back.
Okay, I'm back. So I made an amends to my sister, and we had a really ugly disconnect. A lot of it was done during blackouts, and we had years of just not talking to each other. And I had years of not knowing what I said, but I knew that I said some stuff, and then I didn't show up to her wedding. I didn't, like, keep in contact with her. She had a baby. She was pregnant, and, like, I wasn't there as a sister, which felt really weird. But when I made my amends, I remember she's like, Catherine, I thought you were a psychopath. And I was like, holy.
Yeah.
That was her perception of me.
Yeah.
And I knew my truth, like where I was, but she really thought that I was like, you know, like the same disease that like a serial killer would have, like a psychopath.
Yeah.
Because of how disconnected I was.
I really relate to that because, you know, when I was in like the thick of it, at least at school, I don't know what people were saying about me like behind closed doors, but I did hear that people were like calling me crazy, saying I went off the deep end, and like thinking back, like my mindset was like the audacity that somebody has to call me crazy. Like I was more than crazy. Like I was a psycho too, you know? I didn't care about
and it's
anything
like,
but
you're
myself.
crazy in the eyes of someone who doesn't understand.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
of course, because
And that's the power of understanding, like, hey, like, here's this knowledge of what you're going through. Because if you don't know that, like, this is a disease, it is threefold. It's mind, body, and soul. Like, it's not craziness. It's the same thing of, like, 100 years ago, we used to lock up people in institutions because they were crazy. Now we know, like, hey, some of this is mental illness and it's treatable.
Which
and,
brings
like,
up another really good thing, and time is so short, but I do want to have a quick discussion. Like, a lot of people like get really excited when they're like, oh, like so and so is going to detox, like life's going to be great now, and it's like, no, like
that's the beginning.
They are drinking and drugging for a reason, and like you need to get to the root of that. And for me to say what someone's root is not up to me. That's not my job. It's just for me, my job to love someone while they discover the root of that. But like, it's just like there's so much more. And don't get me wrong, there are people that like become addicted to prescription painkillers and that they don't suffer from underlying causes, but the percentage is so minimal, and that most people are going to need further work, further treatment to figure out what's going on inside, because there's more than the physical aspect. There's a spiritual, and for most people there's mental, so
Absolutely.
So if somebody is watching this show tonight and they're struggling, what do you have to say to them?
If you're struggling, there's another way to live. If you live in darkness, if you live in loneliness, if you live in depression and sadness, you're not alone. You might have feelings that, this is it, and I identify with those feelings. And, as long as you take suggestions from people who, people who have gotten through this process and seen the other side, trust them, have trust in the process of whatever recovery path that you choose. It's hard, but it's absolutely worth it. You can turn yourself around. You're not a bad person. You're just a suffering person. So please reach out to me. I don't have any special title or anything, but
Recovery advocate.
Recovery advocate. There you go. That's special enough. My phone number, my email, any channel that you need to contact me in, I'm absolutely available. So that's it.
That's great. And Kat's number is right there. Perfect. That's Kat's personal cell phone number. That is Kat's email address. You can also reach out to Kat on I Am a Heroin Addict Facebook page. You can reach out to myself on I Am a Heroin Addict Facebook page. Quick disclosure real quick. The name of our Facebook page is I Am a Heroin Addict because when the show first started, the show used to be called I'm a Heroin Addict. And then we realized that this is something much broader than heroin addiction and that it's about suffering. And Facebook refuses to let us change the name of our Facebook page. So if you're struggling with anything, we don't care what drug it is. We don't care if you're not even addicted to drugs. Reach out, please, and go like our page. Thank you, guys.